Welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast coming at ya. My headphones fell out from the local 218 studios. I'm here with my brother.
Das Flutenduten.
Kevin doesn't know what happens there. We just put in a random sound effect on top of Scott when he says yes. So he just says yes every week, but then we just play a random sound effect. I'm going to stick with the Das Flutenduten.
Das Flutenduten.
That's the best one so far, so it's probably going to play for you. If you are a regular on the podcast, you are going to hear Scott say Das Flutenduten probably till the end of time. Hey, it's Gabe Johnson.
Hey, Dave, what do you know?
Well, I don't know a lot. What do you know?
Not much. I know the Squirt White team ended their 10-game win streak this weekend.
Oh, you guys
we
lost.
tried to play a B1 team and did not beat them.
Gabe Johnson, our local youth sports correspondent. So the streak is over.
10-game streak, but we've got enough time to build another one. So
All right, well, let's get that
we're confident.
going. Let's get that going. I think we're just going to move quick today. So we've got a guest with us. It is the one, the only local celebrity himself. Man, the myth, the legend. I would argue, guy that runs the entire city of Brainerd. His name is Kevin Yeager.
Hey, glad to be here, guys. Thanks.
How are you, Kevin?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Doing excellent. So we have a thing on the podcast. You have 30 seconds to explain yourself. Go.
My name's Kevin Yeager. I was born and raised in Colorado, moved to Minnesota in 1991. I run a design studio here in town. I do a lot of work for the city, as you mentioned, and my hobbies include aviation, transportation, and 80s movies.
Okay, so I'm going to just say right now that...
Transportation.
Yeah, trains,
transport?
cars,
Oh,
motorcycles.
Yes.
Trains, planes, and automobiles.
I like
Yes.
trains.
Yeah.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Kevin, I have done that with every guest that has come on.
Mm-hmm.
Every single guest has pretty much failed to explain themselves. You explained yourself
Yes.
elegantly.
Awesome. Thank you.
So I joked just briefly about the fact that you run the city of Brainerd. Myself, Mayor of Brainerd, Gabe Johnson, Councilman, the chair of the Personnel and Finance Committee in the city of Brainerd. However, we got a lot of commissions, and commissions are where the work gets done. And Kevin Yeager is on 89.7% of those
What's he
commissions.
not on? The rental dwelling board of appeals.
I serve on a lot of them. So I'm one spoke in a wheel of a lot of great people.
Yeah, but you do really good work, and I really appreciate that. So, but the reason you're on here
Yes.
is because we want to talk about 80s movies, and I knew nobody better than yourself to do such a thing.
I'm glad to be here. I wouldn't say I'm an aficionado by any means, but that's from my generation. It's from my era, and I love movies. So
I appreciate it. So we're just going to go ahead and get started this week. What happened was 2 episodes we did the first ever Be Kind Rewind, which we went into a deep dive on the year 1988. Talked about music, movies, toys, video games, pop culture, sports, all of it. Go back and take a listen to that. However, in doing so, what you find really quickly is that movies are the most accessible to people. And I have a passion. You and I have talked about this numerous times, that I have a passion for 80s movies, specifically bad 80s movies. I really, really love going and trying to find a crappy 80s movie that I've never seen before. And so I just have a huge passion for it. And I think it's just, in terms of cinema, it is my favorite decade of cinema. And I think it's worth spending a whole half hour talking about. So,
yeah, let's do it.
all right. So you gave us a list of some movies that you tossed our way. So before we dive completely into that, I'm going to say that when we're talking about 1988, a theme showed up in 1988, and it was the body swap film, Big. Now I'm going to forget all of them.
Vice versa.
Vice versa.
So there was Big, there was 18 again, and then the one that we had never heard of was Vice Versa.
Vice versa.
Which is Judge Reinhold swaps bodies with Fred Savage, and it just sings 1980s to me. I found it. I believe it's on HBO. Horrific. Absolutely horrific, and not in a good way. It wasn't. I thought it started, and I was like, "Oh my God, here we go. This is exactly what I love." It was just bad. It was just a really, really, really horrible, hard to watch movie. So if you're out there wondering if you should watch Vice Versa, absolutely you should not. It's not worth your time. So, Kevin, you threw out a list of movies, and should we start? I want to start right off the top with Raiders of the Lost Ark. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. When I created the list, I assumed that we were all going to bring our own list, so I didn't know that I was creating the spine for the entire show.
No, you're not. But
Okay.
but I think having someone that is passionate about it. I know Scott. I've met him enough times in my life where he's going to chime in and he's going to have a few things to say. But other than that, he's just going to say yes, or okay, one of the three. So, but you had listed Raiders of the Lost Ark and 1981. So that's why I want to start there, because it is just kicking right off the decade with Raiders of the Lost Ark. Talk to me about it just a little bit.
I technically put Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's actually Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. I put
Is
that.
it?
It is. I believe it
Is
is. I
it?
believe the actual name is Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the
It
Lost Ark.
wasn't in 1981.
Okay, well then
they changed
I
it.
stand corrected then.
It was Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes, which is a topic that I want to continue moving forward as well. So
Awesome. So there you go. See, I don't even know what I'm talking about right off the bat.
unbelievable.
I actually technically put it in like my subcategory of honorable mentions because I felt like it was just so obvious. It was to me, it was one of those movies. If you ask 100 people on the street, it's half of them are going to rattle this one off the top of their head, or at least I thought so anyway. So that's why it was in my alternate list. But Indiana Jones,
You make me
Raiders of the
feel
Lost
bad
Ark.
about my list, Kevin.
Really? I'm sorry.
Mine too.
And you also the Pretty in Pink and that kind of thing. 16 Candles. Is that was the other direction? But
No, there's so many directions to take
There
with
is,
this.
yes.
And I the reason why I bring that one up is because there is kind of a feel to 80s movies, and Raiders of the Lost Ark in the terms of like your Indiana Jones trilogy, it's 1981. It is kind of its own thing. We talked about this in our 88 episode, that I have a philosophy on decades, and that is that 1977 to 1983 is its own thing. 1983 is closer to 1977 than it is to 1986, because the way that things move, there's kind of an ebb and flow of things. And I wanted to start with this one because it wasn't on your top tier. It was just kind of a yes also. But it is kind of a starting base for how things in terms of movies kind of moved. 1981 is 1977 to me. This is Star Wars. This is that same vein. It's made by the same flipping people, essentially.
Yep.
But then you have Raiders of the Lost Ark. Then you've got the Temple of Doom, which comes out in 84, I believe.
somewhere in there.
I have notes on this, and I'm going to forget to even use them. Temple of Doom was 1984, so 3 years later. Now we're starting to get to the 80s, and then Last Crusade is 1989. Listen, 1984, that's the start of the 80s. I'm telling you, in terms of movies. But Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, nowhere near as good. Nowhere near as good. Do you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Okay, perfect.
I would totally agree with that. I will always argue that the Indiana Jones franchise made a critical mistake when they made the second film, because they could have really taken the character down the road of James Bond and made him a timeless character that, although it's a guy and he has a name, they crafted, of course, James Bond in such a way that he can be done over and over again for eternity.
Yes.
Basically. And they very obviously quickly realized, oh, rats with Indiana Jones. We in the second movie, we can't do that anymore. So a critical mistake, in my opinion, on the people behind Indiana Jones, but fantastic film. It was on my short list. You mentioned the same group of guys. Lawrence Kasdan is the writer. He also wrote Empire Strikes Back. He wrote Return of the Jedi, The Big Chill. So I know that George Lucas gets a lot of the writing credit, but there was a key team of guys there that wrote this. So.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a theme that'll continue as well, because for me, there's like an interesting bit of like when people think of 80s movies, they think of like your raunchy comedies. And most of that comes from your Animal House, which was 1978, I believe. And then it's just the people that worked on Animal House then going and making movies. John Hughes, Harold Ramis, they went and made movies, and those are your comedies in the 80s. And you mentioned like Pretty in Pink, right? So you've got your three Hughes movies, the Brat Pack. 84 is 16 Candles.
Yep.
85, which I was surprised was the middle one is Breakfast Club, and then 86 is 16 Candles, or excuse me, Pretty in Pink. Did I say that wrong? 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink. That's
you
the
go.
order. 85, 84, 85, 86. His 84 movie starts off just, it's raunchy, boobs within the first half hour. You know, it is 100% kids in the 80s in a high school. But that's just following through on that arc of, okay, Animal House is here. All right, 80s, let's go. And then it took a couple of years to get launched off. I think that Raiders of the Lost Ark helped define where things were going to go in terms of action movies. And it didn't quite go the way that I think Spielberg would have thought. I think that by the time you reach the middle of the 80s and you start getting into your action movies, it turns into Rambo, which is on my list. And we will talk about that.
Okay.
Give me another one, then we'll go over to Gabe. Give me one.
Another movie?
Yeah, give me one more off your list.
Do you want off the alternate list or the primary list?
So your other one on the alternate list I've got here. So let's go straight off your straight list.
Okay, let's go straight off the straight list. We're going to save what I'm going to call the
Yeah.
juggernaut for last.
I
But
appreciate
we're going to
that.
go to it may be a movie that not a lot of people know, but if you are a Joel and Ethan Coen fan, you absolutely know the movie Blood Simple. In 1984, this was their first big splash. They wrote it and directed it. And I happen to be a huge Coen Brothers fan. So this is one of those movies that a lot of people say has a cult following. I don't really understand the cult following thing. We should talk about that sometime.
Cult following means nobody watched it at the beginning, and then you had to be cool to watch it afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it is like a cult following in perpetuity? So can a
don't know.
movie
If
can a
you
movie
li- if you
fall
liked
out
it
of a
before
cult
it was,
following?
If you liked it before
Yes.
it was cool, you're
there
part
you
of the
go.
cult.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, at some point it becomes a cult classic.
Okay, there you go.
There
All
you go.
Perfect. So now I understand. So now I got the lexicon down. So Blood Simple. This is their first stab at a film. Frances McDermott plays the lead. It's and what I love about it is you can see the makings of every Coen brother film that comes after
100%.
in this film. What they did not have fully developed in this first film was how to craft humor and extreme violence
Yes.
together, which they now have, in my opinion, perfected. This is more just along the lines of extreme violence and irony, I would say. But it's a fantastic piece, and it's an edge-of-the-seat film kind of on the whole way. And there's some fantastic performances in there by 4 key characters. So it's worth a watch.
So this is one of our own mother's favorite films, actually. She's brought this up a couple times, I believe. And maybe I'm confusing this with A Simple Plan, but I think it's Blood Simple.
It's definitely a simple
It's
plan.
a simple plan, okay.
It's definitely a simple
But
plan.
they're very similar movies, actually. There's a little similarity
They
to
both just have the word simple in the title.
it. Well, they involve simple people and simple times.
And simple plans.
And simple plans. I actually just watched this last night because it was on your list. It was one of the few ones that I wasn't fresh on. I'm a huge Coen Brothers fan. Gigantic. I even love The Lady Killers, which is
That's a good one.
takes place in Backlot, which I want to talk about as well. But I had not watched it, and there was a moment in it where I was like, oh, this is fantastic. This is actually a fantastic movie. If you like the Coen Brothers, it's great. I would say it punches way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Way ahead of its time. It is 1984. It doesn't feel like most 1984 movies feel like they're still hanging on to the 70s, and this doesn't really have that. The actual description for the movie has the best just breakdown of what that movie is: a chaotic chain of misunderstandings. A chaotic chain of it's what the whole movie is.
Yep.
There's a murder, and then it's just a chaotic chain of misunderstandings, which you are 100% correct. Leads to just every movie that they have going forward. So much as in The Big Lebowski, the detective drives a Volkswagen Beetle, just like the detective in this. So, great film. And I will also state that there were 2 things I really liked. The one, and I caught on to this with you, is you are very into cinematography because all of your movies are very beautifully shot. But there is the Coen Brothers are known for their scores. Mm-hmm. There's a beautiful melodic piano score in this, but right at the beginning, there's some synth wave. And 80s are all about synthwave for me. I love synthwave. And so when that kicked on, I was like, oh, this does not fit the Coen Brothers, which it never comes back again. So that strikes me as someone else was involved in that. But it really placed that movie for me that was from the 80s. So
That's a good film. Check it out.
Scott, favorite Coen Brothers movie? Go.
I mean,
That was excessive.
I'm trying to think of any Coen Brothers movies besides The Big Lebowski.
Well, that's the best one. So,
Did they do Burn After Reading?
yes.
Okay, I've only seen half of that movie actually.
Burn After Reading is fantastic because the very end of it, you just go, so none of this mattered. Amazing. I applauded the end of that. After having watched No Country for Old Men, where you're like, so none of this mattered, and then I was kind of upset about it. Burn After Reading felt to me like their big middle finger, fuck you to everyone. Like, no, we'll just make a movie where nothing matters.
Fargo?
Fargo, absolutely.
Fargo. We'll go with Fargo.
I mean, come on. Takes place in Brainerd, Minnesota. Frank Ball, who just passed away, our uncle via marriage, just passed away. He was the police chief in Brainerd when this specific or supposedly took place, which it did not. So
the very first, actually the only time I watched the movie Fargo, I missed the first 3 minutes. So I didn't see, spoiler alert, I didn't see William H. Macy's character talking to the two guys.
So you had no idea?
So the whole movie, I had no idea that he initiated the events of the movie.
Yes.
So it was a little confusing.
Yes, the movie.
Why is everybody so sure that this guy's in on it? I've seen zero evidence that this guy has anything to do with what's going on.
Because the first scene of the movie is him driving the car. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so made for an interesting watch.
That's crazy.
That's a good one. No doubt about it.
Gabe, super fast. Best Coen movie.
I'm going to go to 1987,
Okay.
Raising Arizona.
Oh, also a classic. A classic.
The Big Lebowski is the right answer, but
It's right answer, but it's
Nicolas
90s.
Cage as a felon,
Yeah.
marrying a cop, kidnapping a baby.
Yeah.
Excellent movie.
Yeah, I love their comedies as well. But I think you're 100% correct on that, too, that the thing about Blood Simple is that they haven't quite figured out how to get the comedy in there. They try a couple times, and they just don't quite get it in there.
In Blood Simple, it's more irony. That's kind of misplaced irony.
Yes.
That's kind of their version of what I think later transitions into these really comedic characters that don't actually know they're funny in the midst of extreme violence, which is their recipe for amazing work.
Yeah. Great choice. Raising Arizona is phenomenal as well. I mean, you can't go wrong with Nick Cage.
In the trailer is the greatest fight scene of all time.
And Gabe Johnson is a huge fan of Raising Arizona. So
Big time.
and also Nick Cage. Gabe, give me a movie. Let's go. Give me a movie.
Do you want me to go with something that might be on his list?
Whatever you want. Do whatever you
I'm
want.
going to go to 1985, maybe the best year of the 80s for movies. And I'm going to go to, in my opinion, even though it's just kind of a funny film, one of the finest films ever made. And it's Back to the Future.
Yeah, there you go.
They perfected time travel in that movie.
Yeah. And not only that, but a huge risk. They didn't think that movie was going to pan out because are people actually going to follow along with this tale where the son and his mom, which I know now we joke about it, but even then, there's people that were involved in it that were talking about like, who the hell is going to want to watch this film? And it's
Everybody.
just phenomenal. Yeah.
As it turns out, everybody.
Yeah, it turns out absolutely everybody. What's your favorite part of that movie? Just in general.
Just in general, I mean, I just like how they weaved the timelines together through the 30 years, 55 to 85, and it's just fun. Yeah,
they did a really good job as well, and then continuing that with its sequels, which they get progressively less. But
I like the subtle nuances in the movie. Like at the beginning of the movie, they're in the mall parking lot. And it's the Twin Pines Mall or whatever. And then at some point in the movie, somebody crashes and takes out one of the trees. And it's just in passing. You just kind of see in the background in the future, it is now the Lone Pine Mall or whatever. Or neighborhood or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, and they do a ton
just
of
little things like that you blink and you miss it.
Yeah.
But it's still cool and important details.
And it's like then going back, we get to bring that up. Like, I didn't see that, but yet it is very specifically in the movie. The car goes right through it, right when he gets and crashes into the barn. There's two pines. There's a fence around them. The car goes through the one, and now it's the Lone Pine. This gives me an opportunity, thank you, to talk about the thing that I think is the greatest part of 80s movies, and it just pretty much stopped about mid-90s. There's some of the Some of the 90s movies that still use it, actually The Ladies Killers is one that uses this, but I'm a huge fan of the backlots. So in film studios, they have what they refer to as the backlot. And so it'll be a set that is New York Street, which gets reused over and over and over again. And typically it's for television because they're, smaller budgets. So Seinfeld has all the shots that are done in New York, and they're just done on a set that is called literally New York Street. And it's just, this is where we shoot the stuff for New York. Back to the Future is a great example. That courtyard there is just the courtyard. That is and I think they refer to it as City Hall, I think is what it's referred to as. But it's just this, whole area that's got the building facades around it. None of them have anything in them. Maybe there's a room or two in there, but none of them have anything in there. It's just the facade, and then they can redecorate it. And so in that movie, it works great because, all right, we have the facade. We can do it in 1988. We can do it in 1955 or 58 or whatever it is, 58, right?
85 and 55.
88,
55.
Yeah. 85 and 55. Okay, yeah. Why were they thinking 88?
And 2015.
Because they have to go 88 miles an hour. That's what I was thinking about. But you can also do you can do it in 2015. I love that. That's something that I think film now has gotten completely farther away from, because now it's all digital if they need something to happen. But the reason I wanted to bring it up is when we were doing some research for this, I started punching in all right, I want to get a list of movies in backlots. And what are the backlots? What are the famous ones? The one is obviously from Back to the Future. But the one that I was really disappointed to find out they literally just tore down this last summer was what was referred to as the Warner Ranch, which at the time was Columbia Ranch. So Columbia, the film studio, merged with Warner, and then Warner basically existed and Columbia did not. So it's then was referred to as the Warner Ranch, but it's just a cul-de-sac essentially. And in it, there are two houses that are side by side, and the movie Christmas Vacation, that's the Griswold house. And the house next to them is the house with, and I'm forgetting what their neighbor's name is, but Todd and Margot. Mm-hmm. I don't know do we know what their last name is at all?
I don't.
It's Todd and Margot. Anyways, that is the house from the movie Lethal Weapon. So the year prior to that, this is the Lethal Weapon house, which actually happens during Christmas as well, although in LA, so there's no snow. But here's the house, and then the next door neighbor is the Griswold house. But you don't know that when you're watching the movie because it doesn't matter, because it's a fucking movie, right? It's a fucking movie. But I love that it's just like, wait a minute, that's the same house. Is it the same? That's the same freaking house. I love that stuff, and we're completely getting away from that now, which to me is kind of saddening because there's just something about it. There's a quaintness to it. There's a this mentality from the 80s that is the thing I want to talk about the most. Is 80s movies just accepted about 1984, 1985. They just accepted that you're just watching a fucking movie. I don't need to be we don't. The 90s started to get real sad, grunge music and everything. Like, we got real depressed. I mean, all of us kids were on Prozac by the end of the 90s, and we wondered why, because you're just making us all really depressed. The 80s, it didn't matter. It's just like, we're going to start off the decade with a movie like First Blood, which is Rambo 1. And instead, we're going to get to 1985, we're going to go, fuck it. It's now just called Rambo First Blood 2, which, by the way, there is no Rambo 2. There is First Blood, and there's Rambo First Blood 2.
Rambo First Blood Part 2.
And then Rambo 3. But by the time you got to the middle of the 80s, they're just like, screw it, you're watching a movie. Rambo 1, kind of sad. Oh, this guy's coming back from Vietnam. A bunch of sadness, and everybody's being mean to him, and he just goes on a murder spree. And then somehow we decided to make a sequel on that, and we have to start off explaining how we just take him out of jail. It's like, you're in this horrible prison because you just killed all these cops, by the way. Not just people. First movie, you just killed all these cops. Second movie, we need you, Rambo. And then it's just awesome. That movie is so freaking awesome because it just accepts that it's a movie and it goes crazy. But I love that era where it was just, okay, we're making a movie. Who gives a shit, right? The Burbs is a phenomenal example of that. Somebody just brought that up because it's on Netflix now as one of their top movies. It's not a great movie, but they shot it over 10 weeks on a cul-de-sac that is built in the back of Universal Studios. And it's shot like okay, this is an outdoor film studio, to the point where there's just giant berms behind the houses to make sure you can't see beyond them, which is just ridiculous because it's supposed to be in the middle of a huge suburban neighborhood. But just that notion of having a film that you're just willing to accept that, okay, it's like a play. It's like watching a play. So great choice. Phenomenal choice.
Agreed.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Scott, throw one out real quick.
How about any Ernest movie?
When is the first Ernest movie?
I don't know. I was searching just 80s movies, and I keep seeing Ernest things that I didn't even know existed.
Really?
Like, apparently there was a TV show.
Yeah. So Hey Vern.
Yeah.
Isn't it called? Yeah. That's how it started off. He was actually in commercials in the South, and then they became, it may have been Florida or Tallahassee.
Somebody somewhere is like, we got to tap into that talent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody saw him and is like, well, we can take this to the moon.
And you are absolutely correct that Ernest Goes to Camp, I believe, is the first one,
Goes
right?
to Hollywood. There was a whole bunch of them, right?
Oh, yeah. Tons of Ernest movies.
1987, Ernest Goes to Camp. Oh, that feels like it would be before that.
And then the Ernest Film Festival in 86.
What?
I don't know, dude.
What is happening?
And then Hey Vern, It's My Family is
yep.
83.
That's
and I think
crazy.
that's the TV show.
That's crazy. I love Ernest Goes to Camp.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal movie.
Ernest Goes to Jail was my jam. That was just the one that our grandma and grandpa had taped off the TV.
Yeah. That's the one where he gets electrocuted and it becomes electricity.
Yeah. He gets superpowers. He could fly around and shit.
So, hold on a second. We started with a guy that just does silly voices and silly characters making car commercials, I'm assuming, in the South. And then we turned it into he gets electrocuted and becomes electricity itself and is then solving... Because doesn't he have a doppelganger in that as well?
Yeah.
Isn't that the...
Yeah. So what happens is he ends up going to jail because there's the slick, suave guy that's on trial. They swap him out. So now big, stupid Ernest is in jail. Yeah,
that is quasi-essential 80s, by the way. And so if Ernest Goes to Camp was 87, that makes me think that that's got to be early 90s then, doesn't it?
Most of his movies were in the 90s.
Yeah, they would have to be. That doesn't seem right to me. Those are 80s movies to me. I don't understand how that any of those could have been.
Ernest Goes to Jail is 1990.
Okay. All right. So there you go. Yeah. Right on the edge.
So by your parameters, it counts as an 80s movie.
It does because
it's between 88 and 93.
88 and 93 are the how do you describe it? It's Saved by the Bell type of feel. The triangles. Triangles. That's all you need to know. Yeah. It's just triangles and plaid.
Yeah. Everything looks like a Dorito.
And every movie ended with a rap song about the movie.
Yes. We talked about that on the podcast one time, didn't we? Didn't we pick movie theme songs?
Yes.
Because I'm certain I would have picked the Ninja Rap.
Yes.
At that point.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're veering off the 80s here.
We should do that. That brings up a point. We should do that as a game where I read the rap about the movie and you tell me what movie it is. That's a great game. We're going to do it. Kevin, we're going to wrap back over to you. Give me a mid-tier level here. Give me another
mid-tier level. You know what? Let's. This is one of the obvious ones. I think a lot of people. Caddyshack, 1980. So Caddyshack, one of my favorites. This is a Harold Ramis. You mentioned him before, actually, as well. Ghostbusters Stripes. Everyone knows who he is. This is one of those. Again, a lot of people use the word cult following with this film. But to me, this is just one of the funniest movies in just the corny, stupid way of all time. The characters are fantastic. It's just hilarious.
Harold Ramis has a style of comedy that is very silly, which should be right up Scott's alley.
Should be. Yeah. Never seen Caddyshack.
Are you serious?
Never.
It's right up your alley.
Never in my life.
It's just nothing but nonsense the whole time. The entire time, but phenomenal, and the cast is just ridiculous.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
Was Harold Ramis off of SNL at all? Because he got heavy into the cast from SNL. He had to have been involved with them somehow.
He might have been over at National Lampoon because it was
he
and Douglas Kenny
Douglas Kenny who did Animal House.
Yeah, he was National Lampoon. So, what's the connection there though? Then because, you look at his his movies. It's Aykroyd. It's Murray.
Well, those guys were on National Lampoon before Lorne Michaels poached them over to SNL.
I didn't know that. I thought they were Second City.
So
you're probably right. That's the connection. Is National Lampoon. Then,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's like I said earlier. That the Animal House, National Lampoon, then went to.
There's a 2018 Netflix documentary called "A Futile and Stupid Gesture," and it's about Douglas Kenney.
Okay.
It's from his time at Harvard, and then through the National Lampoon, Animal House, and then Caddyshack, and then his death shortly thereafter.
Yep.
But it's an excellent movie.
What's your take on Chevy Chase? Because I made a mistake last podcast or 2 podcasts ago of not including him in some of my favorite comedic actors. Take on Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase. To me, this was his. He had a few key roles that I love. Him as Ty in this one, but also as Fletch.
Yes,
I mean Fletch really to me was these 2 roles right here are the ones where he's obviously well known for Christmas Vacation.
Yep.
As well, but this is when he was younger and just had a little different feel about him. Not quite as corny as he was.
Yes,
came to be known in later roles. Not as corny, just it's a really funny guy. And Fletch, which I think is his best film. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and I think this is coming right off Animal House because 78 into this. So this was Harold Ramis coming right off Animal House, getting right into being allowed to direct. The sequel to it, not until 88. So he waited a whole decade almost, essentially. In my eyes, 2 decades to get to Caddyshack 2. Which is not good.
Not good at all.
That.
No,
don't see it. If you haven't seen it, you just move on to something else.
They take every single character from Caddyshack and make a different version, so it's not the same characters, except for Chevy. Chevy is still in it. But every single character is a different character that is the same yet less. So it's just everything is down a tier on every character across the whole film.
It's like they diluted the original.
Yeah, really weird. A really weird decision. I love Caddyshack, and again, you want to talk about defining moments in things. Let's just go ahead and talk about the soundtrack and how you just decided that that's the sound of comedies in the 80s. Right. So much as you get to Top Gun and he's still the guy. He's still making the entire soundtrack for it. And I'm drawing a blank on who it even is. If you can tell, I'm stretching this as long as I possibly can.
I don't know either.
Hoping that his name's going to come. Oh, come on. Now, what the hell is his name?
The composer?
Yes, the dude.
80s composer?
Footloose. Oh, come on. We all
John
know
Hughes
it.
is the only composer.
We all know it. What is happening here?
Quick note,
Yes.
Ramis was actually asked to join SNL, but he
yep.
declined because the show was, quote, completely fueled by cocaine and being written literally overnight.
Yes. Oh, we know that. We know that.
So that's why he declined SNL.
You know what? I'm going to pass on that. Yeah. And then made a huge career for himself. Kenny Loggins.
There you go.
My God, why could I not get to Kenny Loggins? Kenny Loggins did Caddyshack, Footloose, and then the entire soundtrack for Top Gun except for Danger Zone. Or not even, no, he did do Danger Zone. It's just the intro, but the very intro of the movie when they're launching off of the thing is like the only thing that he didn't do. We've talked about this 1,000 times before, but one of my all-time greatest bits, Dave Badeaux classic, was that my father-in-law, when I was married, I was very young, so I'm 22 years old-ish. If I borrowed his truck, it was a 1998 Ford pickup, F-150 probably, red, decked out. It had everything. But it also had a 6-disc CD changer.
Wow.
But the discs were under the seat in the extended cab. So in order to change the disc, you had to go through an entire process.
So that was back in the 80s.
So this was, this is,
CDs didn't exist.
if you can imagine, the CDs that went into this truck remained in this truck for the rest of time. I don't think he ever took them out. But one of the discs that he had in there was the Top Gun soundtrack. And so what I would do was I would borrow his truck, and then right before returning it, I would turn up the volume as high as possible and start Danger Zone, and then quickly shut the car off so that when he started the truck, it immediately went. And then very comedically, he would just yell, "God damn it!" And every time I laughed. So we'll tell that story to the day I die. Great choice on Caddyshack. Bill Murray, phenomenal.
Yep.
Chevy, phenomenal. Harold Ramis, just absolutely phenomenal, which probably leads into more of your list as well, because you're a Stripes guy.
I've got Stripes as one on my list here. That's a fantastic movie. That's one of Bill Murray's best performances.
Yeah, and that one bleeds a little bit with me, because who is his sidekick in that film?
Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis is the sidekick. Who's the third dude? Isn't there?
John Candy.
John Candy is. John Candy is in it. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a really good one. I was hoping somebody would say that. Yeah, that's a good one.
But that goes back to your 70s theory probably, though, because that was early 80s.
A little bit. It's very Meatballs-ish. Meatballs is a 70s movie. If it is in the 80s, it's
late 70s. It feels 80 to me, like early 80s, but somebody may could look it up.
But Stripes, excellent. Then another one, if you just want to go with the Bill Murray bit, Ghostbusters.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Ramis again.
Yeah. I made the mistake as a kid of believing that the movies that I saw first or saw more of were better. So Ghostbusters 2 I thought was better because I was a kid and I was stupid. Turtles 2 I thought was better because I'm a kid and I'm stupid.
Didn't you thought Turtles 2?
I did. I don't know why. I thought it was.
It had Vanilla Ice in it.
It had Vanilla Ice.
It did.
If we're being honest, it had Vanilla Ice. The ninja rap. I mean.
And just the young kid that you can relate to.
Yeah. But neither of those count.
The at-risk youth.
No, neither of those count because those are both 90s movies. But I made the mistake. As a child, I thought that I liked Ghostbusters 2 more than I liked the original Ghostbusters because the first Ghostbusters has got a little...
What year is first Ghostbusters?
84.
84, yeah. Right. Yep. Ghostbusters 2 is probably 89, I would assume. Late 80s. Great film. Phenomenal film. 80s were high into the occult. Very high into things, including vice versa. Occulty. The MacGuffin of the whole film is a skull from Tibet. That movie starts off in Tibet, and it's like, oh, here we go. This is the 80s for sure.
The monkey paw.
And then you went nowhere with it. It's terrible. I'm going to jump in real quick because you mentioned Fletch.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things about Fletch that really sticks out is just kind of that quick,
fast pace.
Yeah, we are freaking moving, which bleeds right into some of my favorites, which are the Beverly Hills Cop. Beverly Hills Cop. 1 and 2. Again, Judge Reinhold's got to have them. Got to have them in there. That music, though, just the way we're going to start off.
You're rolling. Next thing you know, it's over.
We're moving.
The whole time that theme song is coming back up, we are going to exhaust every note of this theme song. Because if you need to know, did you forget what you're watching? Because guess what?
Back to the Future did that too with The Power of Love.
True. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of Eddie Murphy. Now as an adult, you get to go back and watch his stand-up, and you're just like, Jesus Christ. God, we were allowing people to do some stuff for a little bit there. A lot of cocaine allowing people to get away with some stuff.
It got wild for a minute.
It did get wild for a minute. But yeah, Fletch is phenomenal for that very reason. But I like that fast pace. Here we go. We're moving. I would have thought that there would be more of the backlot in Fletch. I was a little disappointed. I was expecting to see there's the house there, hey, we're driving in a circle. We're just pretending we're not. But yeah, that's a phenomenal one as well. Throw out another one for me. Give me one more.
You know what? I put one out here that not a lot of people knows because we're going to get to the last one last, right?
Yep.
Okay, last one last. But this one here I'm going to throw out. It's Heaven Help Us, 1985. But maybe a lot of people maybe don't know this one. This is an Andrew McCarthy film. Has anyone in this room seen it by any chance?
I saw your list and I read about it, but I haven't seen it.
I had not seen it, went and watched it because you recommended it.
Yes, that's commitment.
Yeah,
that's what you get, ladies and gentlemen, on this podcast.
I watched every single movie on your list.
It's kind of a this is what I like about this movie. It's a coming of age film. It's kids at that end of high school age, just starting to or high school age, just starting to kind of find their way in the world. It's also a cultural film. It takes place at St. Basil's, which is a Catholic school in New York City, but it's got some very heavy undertones in the film. So it's really nicely written. It's not your typical 80s corny sit down and entertain me for 90 minutes. This film is much deeper than that. So I put this one in there. Also, just for the ladies out there, this, in my opinion, has the best love scene ever filmed of all time. And that's a huge statement. It is. Okay. It's a huge statement. But
why?
And not a lot of people maybe thought this was going there, but it is.
Well, I will say this. With a Catholic film, we weren't thinking that it was the type of love scene you're talking about.
It's not that kind of love scene. This is the kind of love scene where, you're a young kid. This is your first adventure with the opposite sex. This plays out to a fantastic song by Otis Redding, In the Rain, Under the Boardwalk, at Coney Island. It is a fantastic 4 minutes of film, beautifully written, and so there you go. I'm in touch with my softer side.
I was really, really, really surprised by this. So this is why I enjoyed having you on, because I looked it up. It's 1985. It's a comedy, is what it's listed as, about kids in Catholic school having. Heaven Help Us is the freaking name, right? I'm like, okay, I know where this is going. Right away, you're introduced to a character whose entire character arc is just that he's so horny he can't speak. It's literally his entire character. Right. So from the get-go, I'm like, I know exactly where this is going. It's just going to be raunchy. At some point, we're going to have, some kind of confessional love scene, something like that.
And then you have to decide whether or not to get an abortion.
Yeah. And it's the 80s, so it's a questionable abortion. It's actually, so the film itself takes place in the 50s, I believe. Yep. So it's a period piece as well. I was really blown away by it because it was completely different than what I was expecting. When I sat down, I thought it was going to be exactly that. I thought it was going to be lighthearted, and you were just going to be going through the 80s, basically the bits. We were going to go through, this is the 50s. We're going to have a couple of jokes about God. We're going to have a couple of things. And then almost immediately, one of the brothers, as they're called, and I don't know the difference. What's the difference between a brother and a father? So there's the father, which is obviously the priest. Well, what the hell's a brother?
Yeah, Vatican II must have changed that. I've never seen a brother. Must be a deacon or something.
So yeah, the brothers
Vatican II.
Yeah, Brother Thaddeus.
Sequel to the Vatican.
Vatican II, Rambo 7. So they're the teachers in the high school are all brothers.
Probably his sisters and brothers. Sure.
Okay, there you go. Okay. But one of them starts beating the shit out of one of the kids, and so that started to set the tone of, okay, this is it reminded me a lot of Sandlot for some reason. I don't know why. It just did. Yes, the beating of the children, the aggressive violence. No, I think it was the period of the film, and then kind of the beats where it's fun and lighthearted, but it's not necessarily just a raunchy comedy. Yeah. Really phenomenally shot. This is where I was like, okay, Kevin's really into cinematography, because your love scene starts off where they're on a boardwalk, I believe Coney Island, or maybe not Coney Island.
The music actually starts in the little dance hall, which is empty because it's off season.
Yep.
So she starts playing the music. Yep.
On the jukebox.
And then it progresses. They walk down the beach. Yep. It starts raining. They end up underneath the boardwalk. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic.
It zooms out. So they're in this little, it feels like a set, but they're in a dance hall on a boardwalk, and then it kind of zooms out, and you're like, wait a minute, now this isn't what I thought this was. And I'm going to hand it to you. Really good film. And much deeper. Sad.
It is. It is a sad film.
Get out of here. That's the 90s. The 90s
it's a tragic film in a lot of ways too. Especially the love interest, her father.
Yep.
There's a backstory that's given to why he doesn't speak.
Yep.
It's all heavy stuff. And one of the really cool things about this film is every major character is in a moment of huge transition in their life that is not really their doing. They're being forced into a huge transition, kind of somewhat against their will.
That's a phenomenal pick. We're running out of time, so I'm going to move us along a little bit, but I'm just going to say that the one mistake that movie makes is it makes the biggest no-no that I have in film, which is the after the film, after the story, where are they now? Get that shit the fuck out of here.
In text?
This
freeze frame text?
Some of my favorite films have it. I believe Sandlot has it.
Sandlot has it. Animal House has it.
Yeah, a lot of my favorite films have it. I can't stand it. I mean, Jay and Silent Bob has it. You know, the Mallrats has it. If you want to stick with Kevin Smith movies, I roll my eyes every time because it's like you did it. Mm-hmm. You got to the end. I have a very specific thing about movies where movies are a specific medium, right? There are books, there's theater. Movies are a specific medium. You have a time frame. The curtain goes up. You show me what you got to show me, and then the curtain goes down. I don't need you to then hand me a pamphlet on the way out the door. And
don't button it up for me.
No, don't tell me what's happening after the curtain goes down. The curtain went down, so that was the one. That was the one where I was just like, I'd shut it off.
I agree with you, 100%.
I did not listen to where they are now. I shut it the fuck off.
Good for you.
I refuse.
I don't care.
I refuse.
Yes, your movie ended.
Yes, your movie is over. Kevin, can we stick with you? We'll just go to your last
I feel
one.
like I'm hogging all the movies.
That's okay. Let me throw in.
You're the only one who came prepared.
Oh, well.
Well, I knew this. I knew what I was getting from you. I knew what I was getting from Gabe, which is more than you.
But basically just Bill Murray.
And really,
Chevy Chase.
Yes, and really I knew that's Spies Like Us. I tried to go back and rewatch it again because I knew you're going to
love it.
Yeah,
Doctor,
that's good.
Doctor.
And Doctor. Well, we miss anyone?
I want to throw in just real quick because I said, and this is really why I think that whole philosophy of like the 80s start in like 84. You look at Rocky, which is a 70s movie, 1976. Rocky 2, 79. Rocky 3 is 82, and it's like the start. Like, okay, we're in the 80s, but we're not quite an 80s movie. We're still very disco-y.
Jaws and Star Wars.
Yeah, Jaws, same thing. Exactly the same thing. Because by the time you get to Rocky 4 in 1985, it's like, okay, this is the 80s, and we're just going crazy. The Rocky 3 has both Mr. T and Hulk Hogan, and it is still not even remotely 80s. I didn't even realize that Hulk Hogan in that film is not yet on WWF at the time, or WWE.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it kind of led to his contract for that. He was wrestling, but he was wrestling, but he wasn't. I think. Wild. So I believe 82 is when he played Thunder Lips in Rocky 3, and then 83 he got his contract with WWE.
I'm surprised you didn't know that.
His name was Thunder Lips?
In the movie, his name is Thunder Lips. Yeah. I think my sketchy,
right?
Okay.
Hulk Hogan's way better.
Okay. Yeah. Change his name to Hulk Hogan. It's a massive improvement.
Exactly.
Massive improvement.
Agent did well for him on that one.
I don't think that his name was Thunder Lips. I think for the film, his name is
playing Thunder Lips. Thunder Lips.
I mean, Mr. T's name is Clubber Lang, and he's a boxer. Clubber Lang. But anyways, actually my favorite line from that film, as he's walking down to the ring, and they're like, "Why are they carrying him?" They're like, they're not. He's just 7 feet tall. Because you don't think about that. Hulk Hogan was huge. Right. He was just a massive man. But anyways, 1985, Rocky 4. That becomes like that hardcore 80s. And the same thing, I had brought it up with Rambo, but it's literally the exact same thing. 1982 is the first Rambo movie. That is a 70s movie, and it's sad and all that nonsense, but also it's not as good as I remember. I thought it was going to be better than it was. But by 85, when it gets into that Rambo, which is First Blood 2, there is no Rambo 2. I'm telling you, it's crazy. Why were we doing this to our lives? A lot of cocaine in the 80s. But just that mentality of throw it all out the door and go after it. And that's right when then Top Gun comes, which we're not really going to talk about it, but I named my kid Maverick, for crying out loud. I freaking love the movie Top Gun. And again, it's just this mentality. I think that we're about to see a resurgence of this. I think that people are tired of a lot of the stuff that's happening in cinema right now. I don't like the MCU. I don't think it's interesting. I think that every character you're fighting, and we go back to this as well, it can't be a bad guy. It has to be nameless, faceless. Mm-hmm. And so it's just a swarm of aliens, or a swarm of people from outer space, or a swarm aliens or outer space. Which one do you want?
Yeah, and I mentioned that before we started recording, that one thing that was really nice about the 80s is we all agreed to hate the Soviet Union.
Yes.
You had an easy enemy in
Red Dawn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, in both those films, in Rambo, he goes to Vietnam, but of course the Russians are there. He's
Spies
fighting
like us.
the Russians. Yeah.
Stripes. It's all, we got to get the Ruskies.
Yep. Rocky IV. He's in Russia fighting the Russians, and the same thing with like the Top Gun. But just to bring it forward, Top Gun Maverick is just leaning back into that, and it made so much money that I think that people are going to finally realize that. I think that's what people are looking for right now. I think people are getting tired of. I don't know. Give me something. Give me something to lean on and just have a little bit of fun with it. So, give me your big one, and then we'll finish.
Okay, here it is. This is the big one.
Episode.
Drum roll, The Shining, 1980. We could have an entire 3 series.
Yes, we could.
We could do 3 shows on this movie alone. But The Shining, I put on my list. It's one of my top, not just from the 80s, but one of my top 3 favorite films of all time. It's everyone knows. Well, maybe not everyone knows, but there's a lot of urban myth, urban legend. There's a lot of there's a lot of side stuff that goes along with this film. I guess one of the things that sticks out to me is so the Overlook Hotel, which is the inspiration that Stephen King had for the writing, was like 40 miles from my house where I grew up. So we'd always drive by. We'd be like, oh, yeah, that's where The Shining was filmed. Just what everyone said when I was a kid. Of course, it wasn't. It was filmed almost entirely in England. But it's just got this. It's a film. Amazing writing. And it's one of those films where it only gives you part of the story. And that is the beauty of this. That's why it's so high. This is why it's talked about so much. This is why there's so many theories on it, is because The Shining really doesn't tell you the whole story. It gives you some parts and pieces, but it uses your own imagination of what you think these characters are going through or what is going on to fill in all the gaps that you make up for yourself.
Wait a minute, you're telling me that at the end it doesn't hand me a pamphlet on my way out of the theater?
It does not. Yep, it does not.
No, it tells you to read a whole fucking novel. You got to read the book to understand the movie.
And if you've read the book, I would recommend to people that if you have seen the movie, even if you haven't, to read the book. The book and the movie, I would say, are vastly different. In fact, of all of the Stephen King books that eventually made their way into movies, which was a lot of them, this one is the one that has the least in common, in my opinion. But I remember reading this book when I was a kid and being horrified. And to me, this was the first horror film, of what I consider to be a horror film, except maybe The Exorcist.
Sure. Well, and again, those are kind of coming from your 70s mentality of what horror films were. Very, very interesting. And then in the 80s, and I would argue that there's some really fun horror films. The first Nightmare on Elm Street, the first Friday the 13th.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go next. Is to horror movies.
Yeah, those are great horror films. Which it's interesting that there wasn't more influence from The Shining in those films. It didn't push the envelope and push things on the horror side of things. It just pushed cinema in general in that direction, which is interesting.
Oh, I think one of the reasons for that is The Shining was not well received.
Yeah.
When it first came out, it won whatever it's called, a Red Raspberry Award for the worst film of the year. 2 of the actors supposedly won Red Raspberries for the worst acting. Shelley Duvall was one of them, but. So it took a while. This one took a while to soak for people, and boy, when once people started kind of getting it, it's now is like one of the most talked about horror films of all time, and I think deservingly so. It's a fantastic piece.
Yeah. So I went to essentially film school. I went to school for computer animation, and when we got there, we were handed a list of 101 movies that we were required to watch before we graduated. And so you say I did my homework. Yeah, you hand me a list of movies, and I'm just trained to do that. It's like, yes, I now have to watch these movies, and I will watch every single one of them. But the Shining, of course, is on that list. But Kubrick in general was on that list, and so there was I got into a big phase of watching all of his, and not all of them are fantastic. Like Barry Lyndon is not. It's not for me. It's not a bad movie. It's just a weird period piece that was not for me. But his thing that he did lean on a lot was the not completing the story for you. So much as 2001: A Space Odyssey, a lot of people will get to the end of that and not enjoy it because it is just complete. Some people would say nonsense, but other people would say it's an enigma in the inside of an enigma inside of an enigma to try and figure out what the hell he's going with. And I think The Shining has
Shining's
a lot
like that in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but beautifully shot. Again, cinematography. Yeah. Kevin Yeager's his test de resistance.
13 months to shoot this film.
Unbelievable.
Full time.
Unbelievable.
It's just, like some of the backstory you hear of what just the making of this film is astounding. And Kubrick is kind of known to be somewhat of a nutcase when it comes to how he particularly handled actors. He would not let them communicate with the outside world. And there's the famous scene of her getting backed up the stairs where she's holding the bat. Jack's coming after him. Apparently that scene was shot well over 100 times in a row. Many of the times the film wasn't even running, but he didn't want her to know that. He did this intentionally to just drive her to the point of where she eventually started turning.
Just as terrified as
absolutely. So when it's well known that he berated her on set, and it just was not healthy because he said the worse I treat her, the better she got.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of crazy backstory with this whole thing, and the actors and
and then
Kubrick and
Stephen King has said that he hates it because it doesn't match up to what he wrote, which happens a ton. Especially in the 80s, it happened a ton because I think like the Never-Ending Story as well, which is that's a 70s movie, but it came out in like 83, I think. The guy that wrote that sued over trying to shut the whole thing down because he's like, what the fuck is going on here?
That was 84. That was one I was going to bring
up. Phenomenal. I love it. And again, that should be in the 90s. It should either be in the 70s or the frickin' 90s because why are you making me cry? What is happening here? This is the 80s. But the same thing where Stephen King, very not happy with it because it wasn't his story. There's something going on in that film because there is that whole conspiracy about whether or not it is or is not related to him faking the moon landing, and him trying to tell. I have watched that movie enough times to know that there's something going on that he's trying to subtly tell you that has nothing to do with the film itself. I don't think that. It's very blatantly there, but I couldn't tell you what it is.
The Native American thing was one of them that's talked a lot about.
The Native American cans in all
the
of
closet.
The art,
and
it's bizarre.
Exactly. So there's a lot of zany theories about what Kubrick was up to there,
and I don't know. I don't know if I buy the "we didn't go to the moon" thing. Whatever. If you're out there and you believe we didn't go to the moon, cool. Because. Maybe we didn't. I don't know. I wasn't there. I didn't go to the moon. Conveniently, we lost all the math to get back to the moon. If you want to make me scratch my head, ask me about how. Well, I take that back. I work in government. I know how we lost the math to get to the moon. We got 2 cycles past when we had the math, and someone was like, I don't fucking know what happened to it. That happens all the time.
Tony's fault.
The 2 people later would blame Tony. It definitely wasn't Tony's fault, but Tony lost the math to the moon. But yeah, there's something going on there that the way it's shot, there are things that he holds on for longer than he should. There's the cans in the storage room with the Native Americans on them that the amount of time and energy spent to make things look a very specific way for something that is a throwaway shot. It could just be that you're anal. You said 13 months.
Yeah, like some of the scenes I know, just the one where the ball rolls into the room, that was shot something like 70 times.
Yeah, it's just insane. Yeah. Meanwhile, The Burbs,
all in one take,
10 weeks, 10 weeks, one take. It's not even Tom Hanks, but it's phenomenal. Scott, you are a Stephen King guy, are you not? I believe
I read a couple books in junior high.
That sounds about right.
I read the book It.
Yes.
Because it was 1,100 pages or something, and it was the only book I had, because you have your page, whatever, your points that you need to read for school.
Sure.
And I just needed to read that one book for the entire semester. I needed to read that book, and that was it. So I picked that one.
Nice.
Pass it out.
Gabe, Stephen King, what's your take on Stephen King or The Shining? Yeah,
there's a lot of that.
Shining is an excellent movie. Yeah. Stephen King, especially his movie. His books are nice.
Yeah,
they're fun to read. Most of his movie adaptations are just forget about it.
The majority of them are bad. I am not a huge Stephen King guy because I'm not big into if it's horror. I think that there are enough crazy people doing really fucked up things in real life that we don't have to go so far. I don't need werewolves. I don't need mystical, fire starting ladies with pig blood. I don't need that.
What about killer clowns from outer space?
I'm going to go ahead and pass. and you say that about It, but Killer Clowns from Outer Space is actually a movie as well.
From the 80s. It's a horror movie. It's a great movie.
But see,
and they have I don't know if it's a rap, but they have a song at the end.
Of course they do. Of course they do.
That sings about the killer clowns from outer space. And the clowns in that movie, the costumes or whatever that they wear, it's the same company that made the trolls in Ernest Scared
of course
Stupid.
It is. Of course it is. Are they also
look at all these connections we're making.
Are they also the ones that made the puppets in the George Harrison film or music video from the 80s? That was just bizarre as well. That's a weird reference, but go look at it. Yeah. It reminds me of Evil Dead. It's crazy.
That was going to be the next movie I talked about. It's Evil Dead. It's my favorite horror movie.
Because it's nonsense. Scott loves nonsense. It's silly nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Well, the first Evil Dead is
a horror movie.
Scary. Yes.
The second and the third and whatever happens after that.
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2 is a masterpiece.
It's a reshooting of the first one. They just made it goofy.
Yeah. Goofy is the right term for that. But I will say this about The Shining in that the level of supernatural that's in that is appropriate for my taste. It is, and a lot of that is just the shading and mystery. I don't need you to tell me that it's a black blob of smoke. Like the beast isn't some magical thing from outer space or from the occult. I don't need that. There's just the final shot where we zoom in and you're like, okay, something's not right, and we never fully find out what it is, but something drove him mad.
Yes.
He went mad. It wasn't necessary. It could have been tied to whatever this hotel, but he goes mad, and that to me is so much more frightening because the end of that film when he is completely batshit crazy is fantastic.
Yeah. Hadn't other caretakers gone mad?
I believe
it's implied that there's a reincarnation aspect to it. It's implied at the end when you see his picture, from whenever it was, and he's in the picture. It's implied that the character is reincarnated over and over again in the same. Yeah, in the same.
Okay, well, let's. We've completely exhausted our amount of time for this episode, but I want to just go a little bit over and just say, give me your favorite shitty, just terrible 80s movie. What is your favorite one? And do you want to go first or you want to go last?
I'll go first. Okay. I think this is from the 80s, but even if it's not, I'm sticking with it because it's so bad. It's They Live with Roddy Piper.
Yes. Roddy.
Yeah. And for what I just remember seeing that as a kid, and I was just, this is just horrible. But I've watched it many times since, but it's still bad.
Puts the sunglasses on and can see because isn't it Aliens?
It is.
Yeah, of course it's Aliens. Gabe or Scott, which one of you wants to go first? Give me your favorite super shitty 80s movie.
I'm Googling it right now.
I'm just going to go with Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It's a terrible, awesome movie.
Oh, man.
What's yours, Dave?
There's so many, but I'm a huge fan of BMX and of skateboarding.
BMX Bandits?
So BMX Bandits is a good one. Rad is just, oh my God, it's so good.
That's Nicole Kidman, I believe.
BMX Bandits is, my kids loved that movie. Somehow early Netflix that got tossed in front of my kids and they watched it a ton of times. Those are the ones that I love the most. It's when you can watch whenever that BMX bike from the 80s, we all know what it is. It's got the colored seat and the colored handlebars that are the same, and the
donuts,
the pads, the checkered pads. The checkered pads, Anytime there's a kid jumping on a BMX bike, those are my favorite. And so, BMX Bandits, rad. I'm trying to think of what some of the skateboarding movies are. Thrasher. And I love when an actor that became famous.
Thrasher.
Thrasher is, what's his name? It's not Daniel Day-Lewis. It's the guy that plays Thanos, who is, oh my God, what is his name? We're going to have to look it up because otherwise it's going to be a weird way to...
Josh Brolin?
Brolin, yep.
Brolin. Josh Brolin.
Yeah, he's in a skateboard movie called Thrasher from the 80s. Those are my favorite. And they're not good. We're not going to pretend that they're good, but that's the appropriate level of bad. not Netflix, but Amazon Prime has the most bizarre movies that you've never heard of because they're awful and never went anywhere, and somehow they've gotten a hold of like reels of these things because even the quality of their digital print is horrible. They're awful, and there's so many of them out there that you can find. I would say that is of the level where I can't quite go. It's like, okay, this movie, this is what some of these kids had to watch in the 80s. They went to this and were making out in the theater to this movie. Amazon Prime, thank you, because it's almost like a historical thing. Like, you've created this museum for me that I can go watch this stuff. But that's not quite the level that I want to go to. So, yeah. But yeah, BMX Bandits, it's phenomenal. Nicole Kidman, Australian. I mean, it's not even an American film, for crying out loud.
Shot in Australia.
Yeah, shot in Australia. So, yeah. And then Scott with the killer clowns from outer space. Have you seen that, Kevin?
Yes, I have.
Jesus Christ. Get the fuck out of here.
I probably watch that movie about once a decade.
So you've seen it 4 times?
Probably.
Is that the right math?
Yeah, I think that's an appropriate amount. That's an appropriate amount.
Well, that's a good place to stop. All right. Thank you to the Boutros.
Yes.
Scotty Pizza. Thank you, Gabe.
Thanks, Dave. Always fun.
Always fun. And thank you, Kevin, as well.
Absolutely.
So, Kevin, I got to just mention real fast that before we got started, you actually told us that you were involved as a kid with a neighbor of yours being abducted and killed.
I don't think he was involved with it.
Well,
Yeah, hold on.
I'll say he was involved because you were, and it's a good story.
He's wanted for murder.
Yeah, we're going to save it for because we're going to have you back on, but we've never done a true crime episode of the iKnowBadeaux podcast, and Kevin almost got abducted.
Yeah, this fits.
Yeah.
Just say the name.
Yeah, you can say the name.
Janelle Matthews. It's a really popular podcast that's out there right now. She was one of my classmates. I spent her last night together at a choir concert when we were in 6th grade in Greeley, Colorado, and she was abducted that night. And later, her body was later found. But it's a pretty riveting story, and it was a big deal when I was a kid.
We're going to have you back on, and we're going to talk about that. And the reason why I bring it up is because that's a great way to close the 80s, is right into the 90s with just being a bummer. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you to Scott and Gabe, and we will be back next week. And until then, we're done.
It's not a kid's game anymore.